Go.
All right. So this is our manufacturing lab, or our flex lab. It's about 60 feet wide, around 100 feet in length. We've got an aisleway down the middle. The idea is to make the space look as much like a factory layout as we can. So over here, as you walk in to the left-hand side, is all of our fluid power equipment. So right up front here, we've got our hydraulic trainers. We've got 6 of them. We had Unistra installed with our electrical boxes here. So we put it at each station to minimize the cords on the floor. And then back here we've got another standalone 6 pneumatic trainers, where again we've got Unistra with power for when we use the electro fluid panels and we need to use the power supply. And then we've got compressed air as well, and a manifold on the side so we can hook up multiple different air supplies. One thing that we've tried to do is minimize the height of trainers so that you can kind of see everywhere within the flex lab space. So against the wall is kind of those larger trainers. For example, we've got the hydraulic troubleshooting and electrical wiring trainers against the wall. And then for each station, you'll see we use double door cabinets that we can put extra parts in specifically for those spaces. Going along, we also have some extra hydraulic components in a cabinet over here, so if we need to pull out individual components, we've got a space for those. Across the aisleway on the right hand side when you walk in is our robotics area. So again, the idea is that, you know, if we were to bring a tour in, that we can walk into this space and it kind of surround us here. So that way we're not walking around in between equipment and such. So as we need these, we can pull them out. We can wheel them to different areas if we need to. But we've got our spider robot, our welding robot, material handling with the vision camera. We've got an ABB robot. We've got another material handling FANUC robot that's integrated with a milling station. We've got a Motoman here with electromagnet on it, and then we've got an old ABB that we use as a teardown. Yes, so as we look, we'll pan up overhead here, we've got, you can see multiple lines up here. So it's got hot water, cold water, potable, non-potable, and compressed air. So the compressed air and the non-potable water, as those go down through the building, there is, you know, every, I don't know, 15 feet or so, there's a tie-in point that is capped off for the time being. So if we want to extend the space, we can. Also overhead, we've got a 480 bus on this side of the room. On the opposite side of the room, we've got a 208 bus. But again, we did bring down compressed air, and we put dryers on everything as well. So that we can make sure that we've got dry air, they're desiccant dryers, going to each of the pieces of equipment. There's a tremendous amount of moisture in our air compressors because they are housed in a non-air conditioned space, so especially in the summertime. So as we go out of this area and back into the aisleway, we can continue on down. We've got a eyeglass cabinet that's accessible right here on the aisleway. On the back side of it has our brooms, dustpan, and a shop vac. Our next space here is a little bit of a work in progress. So we've got our smart factory right on the aisle again, so when we bring tours in, they can have access to seeing this equipment in Over here on the right hand side again is the old Festo units. So we use these heavily in class. We'll split these cells apart and work on them individually, whereas we're going to keep the Smart Factory all together just because of the way that it assembles. We've got some other pieces of equipment here that we're working on in our projects classes, but I foresee that this space will transform within the near future. We also bought a large TV. It's a 75-inch TV. On the back side of it, we hooked in a wireless HDMI. So that we can go anywhere in the lab, and we just plug into the computer. It needs USB and the HDMI, and it will wirelessly transmit to the TV. I believe it's like 250 feet, something like that. So we can use that within the lab anywhere that we want to. We just put the computer here on the stand right in front of it. We also have a cabinet for, I think we have 10 laptops here that we can use out in lab to interface with the Amatrol trainers, with the PLCs, etc. As we go back into the aisleway here, you're going to see a big open space. The idea of this big open space is for this to be our flex space. So we've got some roll-around tables that we can take these portable trainers, we can pull them out, we can put them on the table, and we can use them and then put them away afterwards. So we have our advisory board meeting out here as well, so we'll bring tables and chairs in, we'll bring that TV over, and we'll present based on that. So one thing we've done overhead here is we've put in compressed air hose reels. We put in 110 volt hose reels or cable reels, and then we've got 208 volt. And the 208 volt, the hose or the cable reels for those are quite expensive. So what we did is we got these tool holders, and they just clamp onto the cable itself, and they just assist in pulling that back up. So there's slack in the cable, there's enough slack in the cable that we can pull it all the way to the floor if we wish. But those are for the some of those suitcase trainers, or if we need to bring other trainers over. And they are all connected. The air lines are connected back to the wall there where we have more of those desiccant dryers. Along the back wall here, we've got 9 of the AC/DC electrical system tabletop trainers for basic electricity. Works well for a class of 18, 2 per trainer. Back across the aisle, we've got this access area that goes back to a storage that has pallet racking in it, so that we can store any of the bigger items, excess items. We got some items from welding in there. We've got on the very top shelf those blue Amatrol trainers there. Those are used in one class session in ADMF 102. So we store those away for the majority of the semester, so we don't have to have tabletop space. So these are those roll-around tables that I was referring to. We can pull suitcase trainers out and put those on there. So we've got them all pushed against the unistrut here. We're using those in some classes, but again, we've put in some more drops. 110 on the back side. We've got 2 pigtails coming out off of a box for 208, specifically for the rotating machines trainers and or motor control trainers. So again, compressed air over here on each of the 4 unistruts that come down, and then we've got more drops, 208, for these trainers here. So we will be tooling up more of the motor control trainers. We'd like to have at least 6 of each trainer for our classes. So we cap our classes at 18. So we've identified that 6 is a good number. If we go back across the aisle here to finish up this open space, we've got these mechanical drive trainers. So we're in the process of installing 3 more hose cable reels for 110. So these will actually pull back into this space, and we will have room for another 3 of these that will be turned 180 degrees so that their control panels are facing each other, and we can plug those into these cable reels overhead. This across the aisle here is our superstructure, what we call our superstructure. So it's built with Unistrut. It is simulating a temporary space. We use it for industrial wiring, where students learn to bend conduit in a fairly practical application. That is all, eventually we pull in individual strand wires, cables into this space, tie them back to our sub panels back against the wall. So both of these sub panels that are open right now are fed off of this main panel here that we keep locked out, tagged out until it's time to energize the system after the teachers inspected all of the progress. This was part of our projects class. So it's just a storage for wires that we can actually pull off of, and it just keeps everything nice, tied into the corner. We've tried to get our ladders up off the floor, so we're minimizing trip hazards and such. We have a work area with 2 fully equipped toolboxes. These toolboxes we got from Menards. They're really nice deep toolboxes. They've got a work surface on them as well. So I recommend these at a fairly affordable rate. And then we've got a couple butcher block top workbenches with some arbor presses, some vise, just basic tools you need to be able to run the mechanical systems class. And then lastly, we've got some work going on over here in this corner, but for our energy program, we've got a climbing tower, so it's back in this space. But we also have an overhead gantry crane. What that allows us to do is rigging. So we do different types of rigging with this setup. Again, you notice in these cells, double door cabinets that we can keep components that are related to the trainers that are in those spaces. Another thing that we found beneficial is we went to Fastenal and we said we need some bolts and bolt storage, and they provided us with an organizer. We pay for all the bolts and nuts and washers and the like for that cabinet, but they supplied the cabinet for us at no cost. Back in the back corner is our overhead door. I feel that it's essential, and we use this overhead door nearly daily. So it is a 16-foot wide, 14-foot tall overhead door. And then we've got a nice fork truck that we acquired here recently. So we are continually bringing equipment in and out of this space, as well as using in our automotive program and our welding and in our machine shop. I believe that's about all we need to cover. Other than the classroom spaces, one benefit to this room is that we have 4 classrooms adjacent to this space, so we utilize those as our classrooms, 3 of which have computer labs in them. So we've got a PLC lab, and then there's a large classroom, there's a CAD lab, and then the very first room is just a computer lab. So it's a good space. I say equip it well with power outlets, with data. We did a lot of data drops as well when we added the Unistrut down to the floor for our mechatronics area. But lots of hose reels, lots of cable reels, lots of expansion points. You cannot build these spaces too large. feel free to contact myself or Kevin Sweeney. I'm Bryce Eaton. If you have any questions regarding this space or what we've done in here, we've learned a lot through the process, but we are willing to share our knowledge. Thanks.
Thank you.